Good morning, Year 1. We are going to continue writing our instructions for how to make a disgusting smoothie. I'll do now is I need your help to edit my method. Here I have my first 3 steps for my disgusting sandwich. Let's read it all together. 1. First, get 2 slices of bread. 2. Then spread some saliva on both slices. 3. Next, quickly chop a slimy worm. Using your writing checklist, can you spot the 3 mistakes? Pause the video now and have a go. Did you find the 3 mistakes? Well done. Let's go through our answers. What's the first mistake that you spotted? Well done. Using your writing checklist, you saw that we did not have a capital letter for our second sentence. We need to have a capital letter for each sentence. We've got a capital F for first, a capital N for our next. So this needs to be a capital T. Well done. I can tick that now off my writing checklist because now we have our capital letters. Next, we should check for our full stops. Do I have a full stop in my first sentence? No. Well done for spotting that. We don't have a full stop at the end of our first sentence. We've got a full stop for our second and a full stop for our third. Well done. Now let's check for finger spaces. Do we have our finger spaces? I can see my finger spaces for my first sentence, for my second, for my... Oh, do I have finger spaces for my third sentence? No, I don't. Next, quickly chop a slimy worm. Next, quickly. Is next quickly one word? No, it is 2 words. So I need to make sure I have a finger space between both of those words. So I'm going to add my finger space after the word next, making sure you add your finger spaces between each word. Now I could tick finger spaces off my writing checklist. Are your letters on the line? Yeah, my letters are on the line. Today we are going to start writing our method. On Monday you wrote your hook to draw the reader in. Tuesday, which was yesterday, you wrote your what you will need section. So you wrote out all the disgusting ingredients for our disgusting smoothie. And today we are going to write the first part of our method. So making sure we are only going to be writing the first 4 steps of our method. Let's go through our story map for our first 4 steps. Ready with a capital letter? Method. 1. First, get 2 slices of bread. 2. Next, get some soft butter and spread it on both slices. 3. After that, grate some cheese. 4. Then sprinkle some cheese on 1 slice of bread. So this week we are no longer writing a disgusting sandwich. We are writing about a disgusting smoothie. So our steps will be quite a lot different. We will still have our time conjunctions. We will still have our steps numbered. It's really important you have 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it's very clear for Mrs. Twit to follow along. Now we have to think about what are the steps that we're going to need for a smoothie. Now we're going to watch a video about how to make a smoothie and watch out for the different steps they take to make their smoothie. So now, hopefully, we should all understand the steps it takes to make a smoothie, which will help with our method today. Now, this is the fun part where we get to change different parts of our instruction. First, we're going to look at our time conjunctions and we're going to innovate them, which means change. Remembering from last week, a time conjunction tells us the order in which event or something happens. So time conjunctions are really important for instructions because they tell you the order in which things happen. Here we have first, next, then, following that, after, when, meanwhile, after that. So today in your writing, you'll be using 4 time conjunctions, 1 for each of your steps, because you are writing 4 steps today. I want you to pick 4 time conjunctions from our list, or you can make up your own time conjunctions. Pause the video now and pick 4. Once you have picked them, make sure you write them down on a piece of paper ready for your writing later. Can I hear the 4 time conjunctions that you picked today? Excellent, I really like those time conjunctions. Most of us would have picked the time conjunction first for our first step today, step number 1. First is a great time conjunction to use for the first step. And then you can pick any other time conjunction that you want to. We are also going to innovate, change our adverbs. We will say adverbs. Adverb is a word that describes a verb. A verb is an action or doing word. So verbs we could have are running, hopping, walking. So let's think of an adverb to describe running. I could be running quickly. I could be running slowly. How else could I be running? Excellent. Let's think of another example. Let's chop a tomato. Chop is my verb. I am chopping my tomato. I could chop my tomato speedily. I could chop my tomato carefully. I'm going to carefully chop it. How else could I chop my tomato? Excellent adverbs. Here are some adverbs that I came up with. Cautiously, carefully, gently, speedily, generously, slowly, evenly, and notice all our adverbs end in ly. Here are some adverbs that you could use in your writing today, or you can come up with your own. Now I'm going to read you some steps that I made up, and I also added adverbs. Carefully slice the mouldy old cheese. Generously pour the sticky, smelly poo. Slowly place the gigantic poisonous spider. Gently put sharp broken glass in the blender. So I want you to pick at least 4 adverbs that you could use today because we have 4 steps. So I want you to pick 4 adverbs. You can either pick some that we have on the slide here, or you can write your own. So pause the video now and pick 4 adverbs. Can you go back and check and make sure all your adverbs end in ly? Pause the video and go and check. Do they all end in ly? Fantastic. Can you tell me your 4 adverbs? Excellent job. We are also going to innovate, so change our steps. We have 4 steps today in our method that we are going to be writing. Now, our steps aren't going to be like the ones in our story map. we're not going to need to get 2 slices of bread and spread anything on our slices of bread. So we need to think of how you make a smoothie. What are the steps that you're going to do at the start of your method? So thinking back to our video that we watched, what were the first few steps? We noticed that they had their blender ready. So your first step could be to plug in the old dirty blender. So rather than getting 2 slices of bread, you want to make sure your blender is ready. You also then want to get all your ingredients ready. Notice in the video they have a chopping board and they were cutting their fruit. We're not having fruit because our ingredients are really disgusting. So you could be chopping other disgusting ingredients. So go back to yesterday and look at your ingredients for what you will need and think, what are you going to do with those ingredients? Do they need to be chopped? Do they need to be poured into the blender? Do they need to be sprinkled? Do they need to be crushed? Do they need to be rolled? Do they need to be mixed? Think about what you're going to do with your ingredients before they go into the blender. Here are some of the ideas I came up with. So my first one was to plug in the old dirty blender. I also had to sprinkle golden sand, to pour thick dirty mud, to pour smelly horse poo, and to scoop out a sticky eyeball and cut it in half. Now, notice how I've included adjectives for each of my ingredients. We have old dirty blender, golden sand, thick dirty mud, smelly horse poo, sticky eyeball. So make sure when you're writing your steps, you have at least 1 adjective. Challenge yourself and include 2 adjectives. So now I want you to pause the video and I want you to write down some ideas that you can include for your step, thinking about what you need to do for the start of making a smoothie. So it's really important you think about your blender and you think about how you're going to get all your ingredients ready to go into the blender. Pause the video and have a go. Can you tell me your favourite step you came up with? Excellent, that sounds really great and well done for adding in that adjective. Don't forget, when you're talking about your steps, you need to make sure that you add in that you need to put that into the blender. For example, if I was to cut my eyeball in half, you need to say cut in half, our conjunction, and place in the blender. Add into the blender. Pour the thick, dirty mud into the blender. You've got to make sure Miss Twit understands where she's putting those ingredients, so don't forget to add that extra detail. Now it's my turn to write my first 4 steps. Here I'm going to use my story map to help me. Even though I am not going to be getting 2 slices of bread, I'm not going to be spreading anything, probably won't grate anything, and I'm not going to, I could sprinkle something, but maybe I won't put it on the slices of bread. So I can still use my story map to understand I need to have my steps numbered, I need to have a time conjunction, I need to explain what I'm doing for each step with my full stop at the end. Also using my writing checklist after I have written to check for capital letters, full stops, finger spaces, and have I written on the line. So today we're going to write our method. I have my hook and I have my what you will need, and then I will move on to writing my method underneath my what you will need section. So I'm going to misalign and then I'm going to write method with a capital M, and I can look to my story map to help me spell method. And then we're going to have a colon because we have a list underneath. Now I'm going to write my first step. It's really important we write the number 1 so that we can number each of our steps. So I have 1. To start off, I need a time conjunction. So I have my list from earlier. which has my time conjunctions. So I am going to pick first because it's my first step. So I'm going to tick it off my list first. And I can copy my spelling, capital F, First, what do I want to do? So I can look to my adverbs and I can look to my steps to help me for ideas. When making a smoothie, rather than getting 2 slices of bread, I need to think what's really important for a smoothie. I know because I'm using a blender, I have to make sure my blender is plugged in so it will work. So I'm going to say my first step is first, plug in the... Now I've got to think of an adjective for my blender. I know, looking back to my what you will need, I called it a used blender. Plug in the used blender. What do I need at the end? I need a full stop. Now I have finished my piece of paper and that might happen to you today. So you can get your next piece of paper and you can start at the top. So I've finished this, so I can go on to my next piece of paper and start at the top. So I've done my first step, which was to plug in the used blender. So my next one will be number 2. So make sure you write number 2. Then I need to pick another time conjunction. Go back to my list. Which one shall I pick? I'm going to pick next. So I'm going to take it off my list. Next, making sure I have a capital letter. Next. Next, what can I do? We're going to look back to my ideas from earlier. I'm going to slice the sticky eyeballs. What adverb could I pick to describe how I'm going to slice my sticky eyeballs? I know I'm going to do it carefully because they're very sticky and I need to do it nice and slowly and carefully. So I'm going to pick carefully and I'm going to pick to slice the sticky eyeballs. So I'm going to put 2 ticks so I know not to use those again. So next, have my adverb carefully. What 2 letters am I going to have at the end because it's an adverb? Well done, it's going to have an L and a Y. Next, carefully slice what adverb did I pick? Adjective did I pick? Sticky. Sticky. Next, carefully slice the sticky eyeballs. And then I've got to think, once they have sliced and what they're going to do with them, they need to make sure they put that into the blender. So carefully slice the sticky eyeballs and place in the blender. If I don't know how to spell blender, I can look back to my what you will need section for the spelling. And then I need to add a full stop at the end. Now we're going on to step number 3. Step number 3, first I'm going to pick a time conjunction. I'm going to pick after that, so I'm going to take that off my list. Making sure I have a capital letter, capital A, after at that. After that, I can look to my ideas. What do I want to do next? I want to sprinkle the dirty soil, and then I can look for an adverb to describe how I'm going to sprinkle the dirty soil. I'm going to sprinkle the dirty soil generously, which means I'm going to sprinkle lots and lots to make it very disgusting. So after that, I have my adverb generously It's an adverb. I'm going to have ly at the end. Generously sprinkle. Sprinkle is on my story map, so I should know how to spell that because I'm going to copy it. Sprinkle the, got my adjective, which is dirty. Then soils, oi, ooh. After that, generously sprinkle the dirty soil. Where do I need to sprinkle it into? Well done. I'm going to sprinkle it into the blender. Step number 4, which is our last step for today. I need to think, what time conjunction am I going to pick? Which ones do I have left? I'm going to pick then. Then has got my sound at the start. So I'm going to write that capital letter N. Then what should I do next? Looking back to my ideas, I've sliced my sticky eyeballs, I've sprinkled the dirty soil. What else can I do with my ingredients? I know, I'm going to crush my red ants and add them to the blender. So then crush. I think we can all spell crush together. Sh. Crush the, what adjective did I pick for my red ants? I can always look back to my what you will need section to help me out. And here I can see that I said they were poisonous. So crush the poisonous red. See here, I've got 2 adjectives, poisonous and red. Ants and add them to the used blender. Making sure I have my full stop at the end. You've got to make sure when you're writing your steps, you say what the action is, for example, crushing, sprinkling, slicing, and then you have to make sure you say then to put it in the blender. Because if your instructions only said to slice, for example, the sticky eyeballs, Mrs. Twit wouldn't know where to then put those sticky eyeballs. So make sure you're very clear what you've got to do with that ingredient once you've done your action. So let's read it all together from the beginning. Method. First, plug in the used blender. Next, carefully slice the sticky eyeballs and place in the blender. After that, generously sprinkle the dirty soil into the blender. Then, crush the poisonous red ants and add them to the used blender. So here I can see I have got capital letters at the start. I have a full stop at the end. Here I've got my time conjunctions. I can see I have adjectives here for poisonous and sticky. And I've also got some adverbs in there, like carefully and generously. Now it's your turn to write your method. Remember, we're just writing the first 4 steps for our method. Use your ideas from earlier. So you'd have written down your time conjunctions, your adverbs, and your steps. So just like I did in the video, you can use all those ideas to help you and to help you with your vocabulary and your spelling. So you're going to use our story map. We're not going to be writing about bread, so I can cross those things out. But we still need to make sure we number all our steps, time conjunctions, adverbs, adjectives. Use your writing checklist after you have written. Check you have capital letter at the start. You've got full stops at the end of each step. You have finger spaces and that you are writing on the line. Make sure you're taking pride in your work and focusing on your handwriting. I can't wait to read your first 4 steps on Seesaw today. Good luck.